Artwork by Vincent Dutrait, y'all. You got to listen to me. This guy is an amazing artist. Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey, right here on the Dice Tower. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time and effort being here. Today we're going to be taking a look at Umbrella. This is a game that comes from the design team of Flavien, Dauphin, and Benoit Turpin. Let's get down to the table and take a look at this abstract strategy game. It's really cool. Alright, so here I have a 4-player game of Umbrella set up for you. Now, the cool thing about the game, first off, right off the bat, is that it does play from 1 to 4 players. There are different things that you can do for each of those different setups, but this is for 4 players. Basically, what you're trying to do is you have these tokens that everybody starts the game with 4 of them in different configurations. You can have them either on the black side here or on the white side. Doesn't really matter. The only thing that does matter is that the orientation of this asterisk symbol here matches whatever stack that it's on. So, as you can see, these 2 right here are going to be matched with that asterisk in the bottom, and then these 2 right here are going to be matched with that asterisk up in the top left corner. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get the umbrellas that are on your stage right here to match the patterns that are on these figure tiles. Now, the way you do that is on your turn, you get to take one single action, and that's going to be choosing one of the umbrellas that are in these waiting areas that are attached to your stage, and you're going to slide them in, removing one from the other side and placing them in the waiting area on that side. So, for example, if I wanted to, remember, I'm trying to get these to match here, so maybe I'll do something like I'll take this blue one right here, and I can slide it into any one of these rows, and if I do, for example, if I slide it here, it's going to push this red one out, and it's going to go into this waiting area over here. That's what I've done on my turn. Now, over the course of several turns, you're going to be able to manipulate the umbrellas that are on your stage and get them into a certain figure that's going to be able to help you finish one of these figure tokens. And now that you have finished one of the patterns on your figurehead here, so I've used my blue umbrellas here to match this pattern right here, I'll be able to take that off and I'll score it. By scoring it, you're going to take one of these scoring tokens here and you're going to place it on a color umbrella on your scoring board here that matches the color that you have. So I could place it here or I could place it here. The difference between where you place it is if you finish that group that's underneath that white chalk line with the +3 or the +5 in it, those are going to be bonus points at the end of the game if you complete that group. So maybe early in the game, I want to go ahead and go for that bigger point draw at the end of the game. Additionally, after you have completed one of your figure tiles, you're going to pass it to the player on your left. In a 3 to 4 player game, you just pass it to them and they have to place it into one of their empty spots. They can choose whether it's going to be the black side or the white side. They just have to make sure that wherever they stick it, it's going to have the same orientation with that asterisk where it's supposed to be. Now, the game's going to continue until one of 3 different things happens. The first thing that could end the game is that one person has put scoring discs on all 10 of their spaces on their scoring board. Additionally, if all of the scoring tokens have been taken, that will immediately end the game. And if there is one person that no longer has any figure tokens on their board, then that will also end the game, and you tally points. At the end of the game, you're simply going to get 2 points for every scoring token that you have on your scoring board. You're also going to score the bonus points for completed groupings of those umbrellas. You're also going to get -1 point for every umbrella that's in your personal waiting area. And if you don't have any umbrellas in your personal waiting area, it's +2 points. And then whoever has the most points at the end of all of that tabulation is the winner. All right, well, that's about that for Umbrellas from Pandasaurus Games. Now, I have to say that this was a game that I was immediately drawn to because I recognized the artwork as being that of Vincent Dutrait. Vincent Dutrait is one of my favorite artists in the board game industry. So if I see something that I recognize as his work, I'm immediately drawn to it. But I still like to play the game to see if I like it before I actually purchase it. Now, in this particular case, I was able to learn how to play this game before I purchased it, which was a big help because after I played it once, I was hooked. I really enjoyed this. I'm not usually a huge fan of abstract strategy games, but if an abstract strategy game has a good table appeal, in my opinion, in other words, it simply looks good as it's set up on the table, if it's colorful, if it's vibrant, then I'm more willing to give it a try. And that's simply the case in this one. Turns out I'm also a big fan of spatial organization. I like doing these kinds of puzzles in games. Now, with that having been said, there were a couple of things that I wanted to mention because I used a basic layout for all of the different scoring cards and all of that kind of stuff. So each of the scoring cards, or the bars, if you want to say, do have other sides to them. So there's actually 4 different levels of scoring complexity, I guess you could call it that way. The one I showed you is the simplest. So whenever you finish a figure tile on your board, you place the matching, you place a scoring token on a matching color on your score bar, and that's going to be all you do. But you also have level 2s where they have some of these that you can use for one or the other color. So this one right here is red or blue. So you can choose to finish that one. This one over here is yellow or green. So that's what level 2 kind of does. Beyond that, then you have what are called level 3s. And so level 3 scoring boards are very similar, except instead of having the pre-printed groupings, it just simply tells you that you're going to be able to get, first of all, 2 points for every scoring disc on there, but then you're also going to get +3 if you have a groupings of 2, +5 if you have groupings of 3, or you have +8 if you have groupings of 4. That are together. Additionally, they also have these little spots right here, which simply say that if you finished a figure tile that had that orientation with that asterisk, then you can place a scoring token here. Doesn't matter what color you used. Then you also have level 4, which basically carries over level 3 scoring, but on top of that, there are 3 pairs that if you finish those pairs, it gives you a special ability. And the special abilities are things like take another turn immediately, or swap one of the umbrellas on your stage with one on a neighboring waiting area. And that kind of gives you an idea, but there's 3 different special abilities that you can do there. So that's another really cool thing, that there were basically 4 different levels of scoring, and each one is just a slightly more complex than the other one, but in almost like a ladder climbing way. So you can kind of start with your training wheels on level 1, do a few games that way, and then go up to level 2 and so forth and so on. Generally speaking, that's how you play the game though, and that's all the different ways that you can score throughout the course of the game too. So let's get to my pros and cons. So, starting off with my first pro, I'm just going to start with what you know is coming, the artwork. Artworks by Vincent Dutrait. It's my favorite guy. But here's the thing. I really like Vincent Dutrait for his landscapes and his people drawings and those kinds of things. And there's really not much of that in this game. It's just basically a cobblestone street. But then you have these very vibrant colors of umbrellas all over the place. And so it's kind of an abstract game, and the artwork is kind of abstract as well. Not really, but you kind of get the idea. Comparatively speaking, from what I usually like Vincent Dutrait for, this is a very abstract thing. There's no people's faces, there's no real landscapes going on or anything like that, but there are some Easter eggs on each of the different player boards, so take time to look at those. Those are pretty neat. But that was just a little flair that I guess he added on there to make it a little bit more interesting as you're playing the game. But it's little things like that that make games a little bit more fun for me, and why I think having good artwork means a lot. But that's my first pro. The artwork is amazing. My second pro is going to be the components, and I'm going to say it this way. It was simple quality. There's not a whole lot of flashy components here. I will say that the umbrellas themselves are heat printed, I guess is what it would be called, but they also have like a little varnish over them, and they are made out of wood. These are actually wood chips. They're not plastic, so I like that. I think that's pretty cool. The cardboard is simply that. It's just cardboard, but it's good stock. I do like the fact, however, that all of the player stages are double layer player boards, which is pretty cool because that means that your umbrella tokens aren't going to be sliding around outside of your stage area. You're not going to mess up any of those things like that. It also means that your scoring bar here is actually going to stay put as well. The simple quality of the components is really what the pro is here. I really enjoyed all of the different things, and it makes the game a little bit more fun when you have nice components like this. Now, my third pro of the game is that these mechanisms that are employed, while they aren't necessarily well known, they're also not alien or unfamiliar to people either, and that's what I liked about it. You're only doing one thing on your turn, and that makes the game go pretty fast. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the mechanisms involved, simply taking an umbrella from one of the 4 adjacent waiting areas, sliding it into any of the rows or columns, depending on the direction that it's coming from, taking the umbrella on the other end and putting it into the opposite waiting area. That is a simple idea. Manipulating the umbrellas so that you can match the patterns of your figure tiles is something that I think everybody can relate to, can grasp in a very simple way. And that's what I mean here, but when I'm saying that it's simple mechanisms. I get that people will have varying levels of difficulty grasping games depending upon their abilities and their cognitive strengths and weaknesses. I get that. The comparatively simple mechanisms that are used here are one of the strengths of the game because I think it makes it be one of those kinds of games that you'll be able to put out on the table with a wide swath of people, and that's always something that I'm looking for in a game. My fourth pro of the game, and I already kind of mentioned it in my final thoughts, is the fact that you have no less than 4 different levels of complexity for scoring and for playing the game, because it does kind of change the kinds of choices that you have to make during the course of the game, depending on what level of scoring that you're using. And I like that because you can have basically what I've said before, a kind of like a training wheels kind of game, and then you can build on that knowledge with those other levels. I think that's cool in a couple of different ways. The first way is that it does give you that very introductory level feel with that level 1, and then going through, you can play all the way to level 4, and level 4 is that, kind of this is where the rubber meets the road kind of thing. You can use what you've learned to score all of these different kinds of points, and the added benefit to that is the fact that you have all of these figurehead tiles or figure tiles that are double-sided, and depending on how you place them and what side you place them on, it will create a different configuration of umbrellas. I really like all of the versatility that this game packs into a very simple but yet very robust offering for an abstract strategy game that is colorful. So all in all, I'm going to set my rating of Umbrella at a strong 8 out of 10. The reason I'm doing a strong 8 out of 10 is because this one's going into my bags that I take to game nights, and I don't think it'll ever come out of that. I think while it won't probably be played every single game night I take it to, it has reserved for itself, because of everything that I just got through talking about, a place in my game night bag because I think it's something that it's versatile enough that it can hit the table with new people and they'll enjoy it. It can hit the table with seasoned gamers and they're going to enjoy it, whether it's just for a kind of a palate cleanser between two bigger games, or if it's one of those things where they say, you know what, I really enjoyed that, let's try it again. I can really see this being very successful in my future as far as having this on my shelves, and that's why it's staying on my shelf. That's an 8 out of 10 from me. Thank you for joining me right here on the Dice Tower. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.